Since TNA, or Total Non-Stop Action Wrestling, launched in 2002, lots of names who featured in what's now known as Impact Wrestling have made their way into the world of WWE. However, for a long time, there has been talk of the TNA stink that followed those performers to the major leagues. The stink would see them forever tied to the low days of TNA, where nonsensical angles and moments from a poorly run company would forever have them associated with a promotion which WWE management saw as a Bush League company. You could be a big deal in TNA, but that didn't always translate into becoming a star in WWE, where things are obviously done very differently. There's a long list of names such as Gail Kim, Austin Aries, Bobby Roode, and EC3 who are prime examples of main event TNA stars whose WWE careers have panned out very differently, with the vast majority having already left for pastures new. This obviously hasn't been the case for every single talent that jumped ship. There have been some major instances of superstars who have been as successful in WWE, if not even more successful than they were in TNA. With that in mind, I am your host Chris Dees, and these are 5 examples of former TNA stars who managed to shake off the stink and come up smelling of roses in WWE. Number 5. Ron Killings, R-Truth. It's often forgotten that Ron Killings spent time in WWE between 1999 and 2001, but after leaving the company, Killings was able to reinvent himself in the early days of TNA. Known as The Truth, it took only 2 months for Truth to capture the old NWA World Heavyweight Championship from Ken Shamrock. He would use the often implied historical racism of wrestling promotions to run with a character which often delivered hard-hitting, truth-filled promos about being held back and overlooked. This gave a fledgling promotion, like TNA in the early days, a bona fide star who they could build the company around during the first year of business. He would go on to appear for TNA until late 2007, although he did fall down the pecking order and was largely used in the tag team division as part of the 3 Live crew. WWE would bring Killings back into the fold in 2008, and he remains one of the most popular members of the roster, having taken a terrible 24/7 title and made it, at least for a while, must-see TV. He even had a very brief flirtation in the main event scene during 2011. Number 4. Christian Cage. Christian always deserved a shot at being one of WWE's top guys. In my humble opinion, he was always the better wrestler out of himself and Edge, but for whatever reason, Edge was chosen to be the breakout star of the tandem. Vince McMahon famously didn't like Christian's face, and despite having a very successful tag team career before that point, it seemed he was doomed once splitting from his longtime partner. When he left WWE in November 2005, Christian was in a comfortable, easy position within the company, a reliable, talented and versatile wrestler who could slot nicely into the tag team ranks with a random partner or in the mix for one of WWE's mid-card titles. Christian chose to sign with TNA, and in the process he declined a contract offer to remain with WWE. Christian Cage was reborn and was instantly placed into the main title picture after signing with TNA, and before we knew it, he was NWA World Heavyweight Champion. Christian would return to WWE in 2009 after 4 years away, and it was presumed that he would just fit back into a similar position from his previous run. He was immediately placed onto the WWE ECW Car Crash promotion, so things weren't exactly looking promising for Jay Rezzo. Not only was Christian able to shake off the TNA stink, but he even went on to become a much-deserved 2-time WWE World Heavyweight Champion. Number 3. Samoa Joe. Samoa Joe is one superstar that has managed to thankfully avoid the same fate of so many other TNA alumni. I think most people can agree that Joe should have been given a run with one of WWE's top titles over the past few years, but you still have to admit that Joe has regularly been used at or around the top of the card during his WWE career, and has even faced off with Brock Lesnar one-on-one at a WWE pay-per-view. It shouldn't be glossed over, of course, that Joe has had an unfortunate time of it with injuries derailing any major pushes, but even during those periods of inactivity, Joe was still kept at the very forefront of WWE programming by taking up a key role on the Raw commentary team. Joe thrived in the role, but the most important part of him being there was how it kept him relevant. Joe's time unfortunately seems to have come to an end recently, with the Human Submission Machine having to vacate the NXT title due to injury and taking up a more prominent role backstage. However, Joe's time in WWE should not and will not be viewed as a failure. Number 2. Consequences Creed, Xavier Woods. The New Day, whether you like them or not, will go down as one of, if not the greatest tag team in WWE history. The trio have been more successful than most since forming in 2014. They've held the tag team titles a whopping 11 times, with Kofi Kingston and Big E both holding the WWE title in recent times. Before Woods joined WWE in 2010, he spent a few years in TNA under the persona of Consequences Creed. Consequences was very much a prelude to Woods' WWE character, a fun guy who audiences couldn't help but gravitate towards because of his natural charisma, but also his underrated in-ring ability. There was always a clear calling for the Creed character, with the most he ever achieved in TNA being a tag team championship reign alongside Jay Lethal. Despite all of his success so far coming as part of a tag team, you cannot deny the fact that Woods has had a Hall of Fame career in terms of popularity, championships, merchandise, and longevity. At the time of this recording, he's the favourite to become King of the Ring in 2021, so there may still be a lot left over the horizon for Xavier Woods to achieve within WWE. Number 1. The Phenomenal AJ Styles. What can be said about the Phenomenal One that hasn't already been said in the past? You won't find anyone who fits the title of TNA Original more than AJ Styles. Styles spent 12 years as the number 1 guy in TNA, trying everything he could to make the brand stand out and seem like legitimate competition for WWE. Unfortunately though, the company wanted AJ to take a 60% pay cut to stay with them in 2014, and they lost their most valuable and recognisable asset. At that time, it felt very much like AJ Styles needed TNA just as much as TNA needed AJ Styles, with both WWE and WCW having passed on him many years ago. Styles even turned down a WWE developmental contract in 2002 himself. AJ Styles was TNA. You think of TNA, chances are you think of AJ. Likewise, when you think of the X Division, you think AJ Styles. He helped to put the division on the map and paved the way for future TNA and Impact legends to take what is widely considered to be the most exciting, diverse championship in all of wrestling, which almost always leads to bigger things for its competitors. AJ walked so that others could run. Reports at the time stated that Triple H was the man pushing for AJ to be signed by WWE in 2016, with Vince McMahon absurdly not seeing anything in Styles other than being a good hand for the mid-card. Fast forward a few years later and AJ Styles is one of the top names in WWE and most recognisable wrestlers in the entire world, holding a bevy of championships including 2 fantastic runs as WWE Champion, as well as being handpicked by The Undertaker to face the dead man himself at WrestleMania 36. Not bad for a guy who was never going to achieve more than just the mid-card. And there we have it, folks. 5 wrestlers who managed to shake off the TNA stink and find success within WWE against all odds. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more lists and countdowns, please hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications for future episodes.